Hello and welcome to the Murloc Podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Luck.
Set sail ahead, low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by healthy, albeit shameful, healthy, pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge.
And more.
And more. We want to get into spammers. Scammers. Scammers, spammers.
I mean, scamming spammers.
Yeah. So you were telling me a story earlier, Locke, that you had a rude awakening, I guess, this morning, very early in the morning. Why don't you go into that and get us started on this?
See, the funny thing is, I don't even think that was my phone that woke me up. I still think that I had it silent from yesterday for whatever reason. But I did wake up at one point in the morning. I was just like, I should probably get up. I look at my phone and I see that there's just this plethora of text messages. And I'm like, what are all these text messages? And they're not even legitimate numbers. Only like 2 of them were actual numbers. The rest of them were the 5 or 6 digit numbers that you see from automated text messages. You look online and look up some of these things that are being talked about. They're calling me Sue, by the way. Apparently, I didn't know myself that my name is Sue.
Right.
Just a boy named Sue here. But it's just like, get paid to test products before they hit the shelf. And then, they send you a link. And then, welcome to Family Relief. We'll let you know what resources are available near you. There's another link. There's links in all these text messages. I look up the names of whatever it is they're trying to sell you. One of them that I looked up, this UFNet. There are people on Reddit that are like, yeah, this is just a phishing text. They're trying to fish for details. I know how it operates. You end up putting your information in or clicking on it and get whatever information they need. I seen online before I got all these text messages, I saw that it said something on the news, a news article saying that the FBI were warning that they're scammers. Scammers are about again. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. I thought that they didn't really go away. It's just they have certain times of year where they're at their peak and they'll try a different technique that'll get the vast majority of people.
I think what it is, it's crunch time, right? Because who are the most likely to get scammed?
Elderly.
The elderly folk. You have some unsavvy boomers and whatnot that get caught up in all this every now and again.
And surprisingly, there's some unsavvy people in even our generations. I met at least a couple people or so who were like, I don't really pay attention to whatever the new technology is. And I was like, and you're born around the same time I am. That's a surprise.
It's madness, I think. The audacity of some of these folk, dishonesty, trying to ruin our society by all this tomfoolery. It's insufferable, to say the least.
It's a cheap way for them to try to get information or money out of someone.
I remember one time, it was so absurd, I couldn't help but laugh. I got this phone call. It was a long time ago. I mean, before all the scamming stuff went mainstream, right? Where it was just all over the place. Everybody warning about scammers everywhere. Like, they're all about you. And I got this phone call from this guy saying that my aunt, she owed money for something or she was going to be imprisoned and I needed to pay it off for her. And he was reaching out to different family members trying to get us to pay off those debts so that she didn't get put in jail.
You're like, that's crazy. Let me call her right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I was like, oh, let me call and talk to her about it. And he's like, no, this is your final chance, or they're going to dispatch a patrol over to her home or something like that, trying to rush me to fix the issue.
They realized that it wasn't severe enough, what they said, so.
And I got to the point where I kept saying I was going to hang up, call her real quick and talk about it, but he just kept pushing me to the point where I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe some time behind bars will set her straight. And I just got to the point where I was just like, okay, guy. That was probably the most absurd scam call that I've gotten. It ended up ending hilariously. I called my aunt later on and told her about it. She's like, that's so funny. She's like, well, I know that most of our family aren't very well off financially. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect any of you to help me out if I was in that situation. So, I mean, I'd just be looking forward to free meals, and room and board.
At least they give you clothes and you got a shower.
Yeah. Man, no. There were so many times before where I was actually surprised how savvy my own mother was to this stuff. She would get scam calls constantly. She wouldn't hang up on them. She would just answer them. They would be questioning her, trying to push her to pay for things, whatever it may be, trying to get access to her email or access to some account or another. And she's like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I just have my boys do it for me. So I mean, I was actually surprised how maybe she was savvy. Maybe I'm giving her too much credit, or maybe she was oblivious to it all. But later on, she talked to me as if she had one over on them. So I was willing to believe her. So I was like, all right, good on you.
A thing that was instilled in me is like links, especially like the ones in the text message, never click on them. That kind of like pings your IP address out to them. I was like, if they're at all savvy with a computer, I don't need them knowing any of my information. Now, if I got more scam phone calls, there's a part of me that wants to answer them and be an absolute terror to them and waste their time like they wasted mine. If I can just come up with an appealing story to just keep them hooked, just long enough for them to quit for the day. But I only have 2 scenarios of where I had talked to scammers on the phone, and both of them were while I was working in retail. One of them was unfortunately a scam against me because they called into the store. I didn't know any better. It was first time in retail. And they were asking me about scanning a card on the register, but not actually going through with the sale. So I don't really know what they got out of it exactly, because if you scan a card, don't fully run it through, it's not paid for, so therefore there's no money on it. I don't remember how the whole transaction went, but eventually my buddy who was working there with me was just like, put the phone down. We ended up having to call the police and tell them what happened. And the police officer, this was the big extreme to the story, all right? Police officer comes, I tell him the whole story, what had happened, what the person said, the number that this person called me from, and this young officer has the audacity to blame me and say that I did this all on my own. He was just like, that I can look up information about you before I even come here. I was like, and? What's your point? Like, I have nothing incriminating on my record, so what are you trying to tell me? I was like, are you trying to accuse me of stealing the money? And he's like, yeah. And I went, this motherfucker has the gall. And like, it was the worst time too, because I was like hyped up on energy drinks, so I'm ready to deck this guy. And I was like,
that's the worst.
That will definitely put me on a list. That'll put a record out there that I decked an officer. It won't
help your case.
No.
It will not help your case.
That was the craziest moment I had. The next one was me working retail and a customer came in. This was after that whole incident at another retail place. Customer comes in, they're freaking out because their son or nephew has been arrested or whatever, and that she needs to get them money. Forget how much. I think it was probably $500. She was supposed to put it on a card for them, I believe.
Oh, okay. Like a prepaid card?
Yeah, a prepaid card. And then send them the information on the back of the card, and they'll use that to pay the dues. And as soon as me and my buddy, we were both worked in retail, same place, same time. We both hear this and we're like, no, ma'am, you're being scammed. We've heard this song and dance before. Trust me, this is a scam. And she's like, but I don't want him locked away. No, he is not locked away. I can guarantee you he is fine. We grab the phone for her. We start talking. He's like, I do not want to talk to you. I go, well, that's too bad, because here I am. And if you want this money, I guess you're going to have to talk to me, bud, because I need to know the information to put it in the computer. And we're trying to calm her down, tell her, hey, it's okay. Try to ease her mind from the subject and get it off of somebody's been taken. No, they are fine. We tried to set the conversation up to get her to see, and she's like, well, what do I do? And we're like, easy. Boop. I don't think she ever got a call back. At least I hope she didn't. And I hope she didn't go to another store.
Poor thing, man.
I felt really bad for her. She was all distraught.
That could be quite traumatizing, too, having to go through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Since direct phone calls and what have you, it started becoming more so robocalls for the most part and just leaving a callback number. I don't care what it is. Any number that comes in that I don't recognize or I don't know, and there's no caller ID, I let it go to voicemail. And I will go through all my voicemails. I'll take that number down and I'll listen to the voicemail associated with it. And I'll often leave like a different callback number to what they called with. And I'll write that number down as well. And then I'll report both those numbers as scamming.
You go to like White Pages or Yellow Book or whatever and report it.
Verizon at least has this app that you can go through and you can report all these scam numbers. I guess they just don't realize that some of us have a lot of time on our hands and we're willing to go through and report all these things. Because I know it's a bit of a roundabout doing it, but I've just made it a weekly ritual going through all these scam numbers that have tried to contact me. I don't know if anything ever comes of it, but I really don't get that many scam calls or texts or anything anymore after reporting so many over the years.
It just gets to be a lot after so long.
It really does. And it's so frustrating.
It's almost like what is it? A Hydra. Cut one head off and another one grows.
Oh, yeah. 2 more tickets, please. Yeah. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. I have to say, I appreciate deeply all those YouTube channels and people that scammers completely dismantle their operations. Oh man, those are so satisfying to see. I just love that we're not necessarily kneecapping these motherfuckers, but just ruining things for them or their operations.
I appreciate those too, and I gotta give them credit for having the patience to deal with it, because there's that part of me who gets rather agitated that people are doing this to people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lack of integrity. And
do something more creative with your life. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now I'm on a hit list.
Yeah. Now we're on a
Find
list.
and lock.
As soon as we're done with this episode or publish this episode, we're done for. They're coming after us.
This will be the warning to the people. If we do go missing, then they know it was you, buddy.
Yeah, they found us out. If you enjoy the Merle and Locke podcast, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/MerleandLocke or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.